Hey, what is up everybody? This is Rob, and for this video we're going to be talking about the 5 best things I think you should look for if your car is your daily driver and you essentially want to enhance its daily drivability and overall just make it a more enjoyable vehicle to drive. The reason why this video is going to be different than other videos is, you'll see other videos that are all about how to get the most horsepower, how to do all of this stuff to your vehicle, but I really want to focus on that daily drivability, those things that will make a good quality of life improvement, while also, yes, making it a more enjoyable vehicle, but also remembering that this is your vehicle that maybe you have to drive to work every day, and you don't want to own a vehicle that you only want to drive on weekends because it's just a chore to drive any other day. So the first thing I'm going to say is actually, it's a modification I feel not enough people really talk about, and that is changing out your vehicle's steering wheel. Of course, that's if you're not too happy with your current one. So here's the thing. When you are driving, think about it. Your steering wheel is the part of your vehicle that you are going to be interacting with the most. It doesn't matter if you're driving spirited, if you're driving normal, whatever, that's what you're always going to be, interacting with. So why not make it nicer? For me, I always preferred steering wheels that were a little bit thicker with some nice thumb bolsters. For you, it might be something different. But nowadays, it's super easy to find aftermarket steering wheels for whatever vehicle you drive, and usually you can find a shop that can switch it out if you don't want to do it yourself. Highly recommend looking into them. Then you can also get some of the nicer ones, like the cool carbon fiber ones. So many different steering wheel shapes out there I've noticed now. And generally, it's a pretty cool part of customizing your vehicle, and it looks really good when you look at the interior. You want to make sure your suspension is set up exactly how you want it. So remember, guys, when you buy your vehicles brand new from the factory, or even if it's used, it's just never modified, car manufacturers will usually put a suspension on it, especially if it's not a performance-oriented vehicle, that will essentially placate the most amount of people. Won't be too soft, won't be too stiff. Usually it's something that's a little bit under just right. So you have to really decide, what do you prefer? Do you want a softer ride or a stiffer ride? And I highly recommend, really putting some thought into this, getting a good brand, getting a nice suspension setup, because again, this whole point of this video is drivability and enjoyability for a vehicle that you will be driving, probably every day. While we are talking about, the manufacturers and the way they build out the cars, something to remember is that pretty often they'll cheap out on the tires that your vehicle comes with. Sometimes it is just to satisfy the lawyers. Sometimes it's in the name of, better gas mileage. So you also should kind of figure out, what are you looking for out of your tires, and also just from a safety standpoint, because again, part of having a car that's drivable and especially daily drivable means it's a car that will be safe to drive in the varying weather conditions. You may also want to figure out, are the tires on my vehicle going to be adequate when the rain starts up, when the winter starts up? Do I want just summer tires? Do I want all weather tires? Do I want snow specific tires? You really want to look into this, because again, safety is the primary name in the game, and you don't want to end up spinning out or having any sort of, horrific accident, those kind of things. So do also look into that. We'll also, again, figuring out, what kind of driving do you want to do, and also keep in mind other factors, such as if you were to, for example, put more sport-oriented tires on your vehicle, they will run down as opposed to more, economy level tires. There's a whole lot of different factors you have to consider, but when it comes to making your vehicle, the perfect daily driver, tires are a part that where you really have to, look into it. And a nice little plus side is, hey, if you're getting tires, might give you an excuse to get some nice new wheels too. But that's all on you. If you're daily driving your vehicle, you're probably going to be driving it at night. That's why I'm saying that it's necessary to look into your current vehicle's lighting setup and make sure that it is adequate for the task. And if not, look into upgrades. Now, I'm not saying to take your car's headlights or halogen headlights, pop them out, slap in the brightest HIDs, because those are also a risk. But let's face it, if you have an older car that's still in a halogen setup, getting a nice aftermarket LED headlight setup, it might just be, what you need to make your vehicle safer to drive at night. Visibility is important. You want to have as much as you can. I will also say to check out the fog lights on your vehicle as well. I notice that nowadays most vehicles that come with fog lights, they aren't yellow, they're just some normal bright white ones. Sometimes they're not even that bright, they feel more like a stylish afterthought. And just switching them out to just some really nice yellow LEDs, Honestly, more often than not, that really helps out with the drivability. Let's see, I used to have a 2017 Forester, and that didn't even come with fog lights. After I installed it, and then I added some nice yellow HIDs, and of course pointed perfectly down at the ground so they won't blind anybody, that really enhanced what I was able to see on the floor at night while driving. And in my opinion, it did make driving the vehicle, much more safe. So after we've gone through all those things, now let's talk about the part you might find a little bit more fun. That's of course adding some performance modifications, guys. You know what? Maybe you want something that has a little bit more pick up and go when you're switching lanes, those kind of things. Look into some modifications that do that. I mean, maybe you just want something that makes you smile more when you accelerate when you're merging on the freeway. Just throw on a nice intake and exhaust and call it a day on that. When it comes to modifying, in terms of performance, there's a variety of things depending on how deep in you want to go. But do remember, you don't want to get in too deep where, again, you start killing that daily drivability of your vehicle and then it turns into a weekend only car. And well, then you kind of lost the point of this video just a little bit, even though it will probably still be a very enjoyable vehicle to drive. I usually every car I own, I put on usually a nice intake and exhaust or one or the other. This is just to make it a little bit more fun for me. I do sometimes also mess around with tunes. Like I do have a tune on my Tacoma right now just because that did increase the drivability quite a bit. Because if you didn't know, the third generation Tacoma motors they're slugs. So by adding in a tune, it definitely increased the enjoyability of it for me and did make it easier to do things such as merging in traffic and those kind of things. So that's it, you guys. So those are the 5 things I recommend looking into if you want to improve the drivability, that daily drivableness of your vehicle. If there's anything I should have added and I left out, please let me know. I like to use my videos as a discussion hub. So any comments, anything like that, let me know down below. And with that, guys, this is Rob, and have a good one.